So in the night, and her tears are on her cheeks. Among all her lovers she has none to comfort her. All her friends have dealt treacherously with her. They are become her enemies. He was upset, you could tell. And as Lamentations goes on, and we're building up to where we're going to be at in our text, he begins to turn his questions toward God and what was going on and why God had allowed this to happen to Jerusalem. And then ultimately his cry becomes a personal cry as to why is this happening to me? In verse 12 of chapter 1 it says, Is it nothing to you, all ye that pass by? Behold and see if there be any sorrow like unto my sorrow, which is done unto me, wherewith the Lord hath afflicted me in the day of his fierce anger. And in verse 16 he continues this lament. He says, For these things I weep, my eyes runneth down with water, because the Comforter that should relieve my soul is far from me. Talking about God. My children are desolate because the enemy has prevailed. You get the picture? He was hurting. He was upset. Crying constantly. He's talking, my eyes. Tears are just flowing out of him. He's trying to describe that. And he says, where is God? The one that should comfort me, he's not here. And we know by what God states and by who God is, he didn't leave Jeremiah. But sometimes it feels like even to us that God is gone. And he's gone nowhere, and we'll see that from this story. But have you ever felt that way? Ever questioned why God has let something happen? Why he's let something last so long in your life? Why he's taking you down this road? Or maybe even like Jeremiah, why have you taken me here and left me here not to comfort me? Maybe you wouldn't say it out loud. I wouldn't hardly. Definitely wouldn't write it down for the whole world to read thousands of years later like Jeremiah did. But in our hearts, we've struggled. We like to put our halos on and our suits and our ties and act like everything is perfect and wonderful all the time and have these Facebook and social media lives, but nothing's perfect about any of our lives. So if you ever wonder where God is, first understanding we know is he never goes anywhere. And we lift our struggles and our stresses to him like Jeremiah did in this. And we now move into the text part of what it is. That's more of a history lesson to get us prepared for where we're actually going to be tonight. And I know that's a gloom and doom picture, but it was very much a bad picture. And we need to see that so that we can understand just how far down this man had gone as he began to weep and lament. So look at this detailed question. You've already turned there in chapter 3 of Lamentations. Begin reading in verse 4. As Jeremiah continues to lament, he says, My flesh and my skin hath made me old. He hath broken my bones. He hath builded against me, and compassed me with gall and travail. He hath set me in dark places, as they that be of dead of old. He hath hedged me about, and I cannot get out. He hath made my chain heavy. Also, when I cry and shout, he shutteth out my prayer. And he hath enclosed my way with hewn stone, and he hath made my paths crooked. This is the man of God crying out. And if you jump on down to verse 16, there's a bunch more in there, but for sake of time, we've got a lot to talk about and a lot of land to cover here. Verse 16, he continues. He says, He hath broken my teeth with gravel stones. He hath covered me with ashes. You ever been so upset that you ground your teeth? You found yourself gritting your teeth? That's exactly what he's talking about. To where they begin to break off little pieces is what he's talking about here. Like sand in his mouth. He's gritting his teeth so hard. And thou hast removed my soul far off from peace, and I forgot prosperity. And I said, My strength and my hope is perished from me, from the Lord. Remember mine affliction and my misery, the wormwood and the gall. My soul hath them still in remembrance, and is humbled in me. This is the pity party of pity parties. He began to look around him, and some of us would say, rightfully so, look at what was happening to him. And he began to cry out, and he began to complain, crying out where God is, and began to complain that God was destroying him, and blame God for everything. And it's just total lament, total just collapse of hope. Have you ever been that way? Maybe you're there now. I don't know. And it's easy to get to looking around to see how bad things are and get discouraged. And most of us would say that there's times today that we get discouraged. The difference between us and Jeremiah, the prophet Jeremiah, I almost gave David Jeremiah a little Bible there, but the prophet Jeremiah, the difference between us is that he poured out his heart to God. And we walk around like everything's perfect. Jeremiah says, things are so bad, my hope is gone. I remember only my affliction. And he was at the point where that's all he could think about. I would say that we're not alone when we feel that way. And David, the part that happens, I don't know why I keep wanting to say that, but Jeremiah was so upset, and we would have been upset too if we just saw this stuff. But look what happens. As we build into this awfulness, all the stuff that's going on, he's lamented all the way up through 3 chapters. Look at verse 21 of chapter 3. After being consumed by all the trouble, all the stresses, looking around and seeing what was going on, caught up in the situation, in verse 21, there's a change of tone. Look at verse 20. My soul hath them still in remembrance and is humbled in me, talking about the travail. Verse 21. This I recall to my mind, therefore I have hope. Somewhere the hopeless prophet found hope. And in verse 22 he continues this. It is of the Lord's mercies that we are not consumed, because his compassions they fail not. They're new every morning. Great is thy faithfulness.